10 airport secrets airlines use to trick passengers. Seniors are hit hardest. Airports feel familiar. You might have been through them a dozen times. But what most passengers don't realize is that airports don't operate on routine anymore. They operate on systems designed to quietly steer decisions, apply pressure, and profit from small mistakes. For many travelers, especially seniors, those systems hit harder. Not because of inexperience, but because the rules have changed without clearly being explained. Fees appear suddenly, seats vanish, and every step feels like it's working against you instead of with you. In this video, we're exposing 10 airport secrets airlines rarely explain openly to trick passengers. These aren't rumors or conspiracy theories, they're patterns that repeat every day across major airports. Stay until the end because one of these secrets allows airlines to quietly give away your seat before you ever miss your flight, and most passengers don't even know it's happening. Let's start with number 10. The surveillance carpet trick. Airports don't manage crowds with signs or announcements, they do it with architecture. One of the quietest tricks is the flooring beneath your feet. Near security checkpoints and high control areas, smooth tile often turns into thick padded carpet. Change isn't about comfort. Soft flooring creates resistance, which naturally slows your walking speed and subtly alters your posture. Slower passengers are easier to observe, easier to process, and less likely to challenge instructions or push back when something goes wrong. This design choice increases compliance without you realizing it. You feel calmer, less rushed, but also more passive. That's exactly the goal of high-stress zones like security and boarding corridors. Once you're aware of it, the effect loses power. You stay mentally alert, keep your pace intentional, and don't let the environment quietly dictate your behavior. Gate agents are profiling bags before boarding. Long before boarding starts, gate agents are already scanning the crowd. Not to help, but to plan. They quietly watch for carry-on bags that look bulky, heavy, or difficult to lift. Imagine a senior traveler standing near the gate with a full roller bag. It's flown before, it fits rules, but it looks heavy. The agent glances up while typing, takes note, and moves on. When boarding begins, the same traveler is pulled aside and told that the bag must be checked. This isn't random. Stopping bags early helps agents board faster and avoid aisle backups. On some airlines, stricter enforcement also reduces overhead bin chaos or directly increases baggage fee revenue. Either way, catching one problem bag early makes their job easier and keeps the flight on schedule. That's why they pre-select passengers before lines form. Once you're flagged, the decision is usually final. Lounge access is hidden on purpose. Airport lounges are often presented as executive spaces meant only for first-class passengers or frequent flyers, but that image is intentional. In reality, many lounges allow entry through day passes, credit card benefits, delay situations, or courtesy access. The reason airlines and airports rarely mention this is simple. Uncomfortable passengers spend more money. When travelers are stuck at noisy gates with limited seating, overpriced food, and crowded restrooms, they're more likely to buy drinks, snacks, and upgrades out of frustration. Lounges do the opposite. They offer quiet seating, free food and snacks, clean bathrooms, Wi-Fi, and a place to rest. That comfort reduces spending, and airports don't benefit from that. For seniors especially, long waits at the gate can mean fatigue, stress, and unnecessary discomfort. Lounge access isn't advertised because silence keeps people uncomfortable and spending. Knowing this option exists gives back control, comfort, and dignity during long waits. The rolling delay illusion. When a flight is delayed, airlines rarely tell you the full truth up front. Instead of announcing a long delay, they break it into smaller pieces. Just 30 more minutes, then another 30, then another. This isn't poor communication. It's a deliberate tactic to keep passengers seated, calm, and less likely to demand rebooking, meals, or refunds. For seniors, this trick is especially costly. You stay glued to the gate, afraid to leave for food, a restroom, or a quieter place to rest, because boarding might happen any minute now. Meanwhile, the airline avoids triggering compensation thresholds that apply after longer confirmed delays. What most travelers don't realize is that aircraft tracking apps often reveal the real story. If the plane hasn't arrived yet, those short delays are usually unrealistic. Knowing this lets you make smarter decisions, eat, rest, or ask questions early, instead of waiting endlessly while the clock quietly works against you. The overbooking casino. Airlines routinely sell more tickets than there are seats on the plane. This isn't a mistake. It's a calculated gamble based on the assumption that some passengers won't show up. Most of the time, the math works in the airline's favor. But when everyone does show up, someone loses, and it's almost never the airline. When overbooking backfires, airlines quietly look for passengers who are less likely to argue, complain publicly, or cause disruption. Seniors are often hit harder because airlines assume they'll be the more patient, less confrontational, and more willing to accept rebooking without a fight. The process happens fast and often without explanation. What many travelers don't realize is that timing matters. The last passengers to check in or arrive at the gate are usually the first candidates to get bumped. And if you're removed involuntarily, you may be entitled to compensation, but only if you recognize what happened. Overbooking isn't bad luck. It's a numbers game, and knowing how it works helps you avoid being the losing bet. The voluntary bag check trap. It often starts innocently. You're standing near the gate, boarding hasn't begun yet, and you notice the metal bag sizer sitting nearby. A senior traveler ahead of you gently rolls their carry-on over and thinks, "Let me just see if this fits." The bag slides in. Almost. Maybe the wheels stick out by an inch. That's all it takes. The moment you place your bag in that sizer voluntarily, you hand control to the airline. The agent doesn't even have to search for you or argue. The rule is now visible, and the fee is automatic. What could have stayed a carry-on instantly becomes a paid gate check, often costing $60 to $100 with no room to negotiate. Here's what most people don't realize. You are never required to test your bag unless an agent asks. Staying back, keeping your bag close, and avoiding the sizer unless instructed protects you. In this system, volunteering information is exactly what triggers the trap, and airlines are counting on curiosity to do the work for them. The Gate Agent Commission Incentive. Most travelers assume strict baggage enforcement is just about rules and fairness. What airlines don't advertise is that on some carriers, gate agents are financially rewarded for catching violations. Certain low-cost and budget airlines quietly offer commissions or performance bonuses when an agent flags oversized bags or forces a last-minute gate check. The incentive changes behavior. A bag that looks bulky is more likely to be stopped than one that actually breaks the rule. Bright colors, hard shells, and overstuffed outer pockets draw attention, while compact, dark, soft-sided bags blend in. This is why two passengers with similar bags can be treated very differently at the same gate. For seniors, this hits harder because disputing a decision at boarding is stressful and risky. You're unlikely to argue when missing the flight is on the line. The trick works because it happens the moment you have the least leverage. The safest move isn't arguing policy, it's avoiding attention in the first place. Predictive seat cancellation. Sometimes your seat is gone before you ever miss your flight. Airlines now use predictive systems that automatically remove passengers when the software thinks that they won't make a connection, even if they're still running toward the gate. This isn't based on reality, it's based on probability. Once the system flags you, your seat can be reassigned instantly to another passenger. By the time you arrive, the plane still might be out there, but your reservation isn't. And because it's framed as a missed connection, airlines often act like compensation doesn't apply. What most travelers don't know is that this matters legally. If your seat was canceled predictively, not because you actually missed boarding, it can qualify as involuntary denial. Knowing to ask why your seat was removed and documenting it can be the difference between being stranded quietly and being rebooked with proper compensation. TSA behavior reading and secondary screening bias. A senior traveler steps into the security line already tense. worried about shoes, bins, liquids, doing everything right. They hesitate, look around, fumble with their jacket. That's often all it takes. TSA officers aren't just watching bags, they're watching behavior. Nervous movements, hesitation, over-explaining, these can quietly trigger extra screening. The problem is that stress doesn't mean risk. Many seniors move slower or appear anxious simply because airports are overwhelming. But those signals are still misread, and this usually results in secondary screening, longer waits, and unnecessary stress that feels personal, even when it isn't. What helps most is knowing that this isn't about guilt or innocence. Calm, natural movement matters more than perfection. You don't need to rush or act overly polite. Just move steadily, answer briefly, and don't overcorrect mistakes. TSA can't read minds, but they often misread nerves. The refund versus credit misdirection, most damaging secret. And this is the most costly and most overlooked trick airlines use, especially against senior travelers. When a flight is canceled, airlines often rush to offer travelers credits instead of refunds. It sounds helpful, but it's designed to work in their favor, not yours. Those credits usually come with strict rules, expiration dates, limited routes, blackout periods, and no transfers. Many seniors accept them on the spot, thinking they'll sort it out later, only to realize months down the line that the credit is expired or can't be used for a trip they'd actually want. Some airlines even deduct fees when credits are reused, shrinking their value further. What airlines won't emphasize is this. For canceled flights, passengers are legally entitled to a cash refund, not a voucher. Credits are easier for airlines and far more profitable because they may go unused. The trick works because it's framed as convenience, not limitation. Knowing to ask directly for a refund, using that word can save you hundreds of dollars in a single moment. And that's the full list. These aren't random frustrations, but rather systems airports and airlines use every single day, quietly shaping how passengers move, wait, spend, and comply. Once you understand these tricks, the airport stops feeling confusing. You know what to ignore, what to question, and when something doesn't sit right. If any of these secrets surprised you, let me know in the comments. Chances are someone has experienced the same thing without realizing why. And if you want to keep traveling with more control and less stress, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown.